Hey, I'm Brock with Brock Entertainment.
And I'm Amanda with Amanda Reed Weddings.
And this is the I Do IQ podcast, where each and every week we're going to be discussing the latest in wedding and event trends.
And we're going to let you know all the things that you need to know in order to make your event the most special.
Yeah, and in the end, you will have the best wedding and event experience ever.
And something tells me we're going to have a little fun along the way.
I don't know about that. I'm a pretty serious guy,
Yeah,
Amanda.
you kind of are.
And this is a serious topic, so only seriousness.
Serious business.
This is the I Do IQ podcast. Let's begin. Hey, it is Brock.
Oh, and Amanda. I'm Amanda.
This is a thing now, Amanda.
It is a
I
thing.
say my name, and then you say your name. I messed up the first couple of times. I'm better at it now because you made such a big deal about it. Now,
It's like you're not a professional. or
I'm
something.
Brock, and this is...
Amanda.
And this is the I Do IQ podcast. Do you want to introduce your friend?
I would love to. I'd love to. We are here today with my very good friend, Shellie Morrison from the event group. I'm going to let you give your whole spiel about everything that you've ever done and your entire life story in a second, but you are the president, HBIC. I will let you figure out what that stands for.
CEO, well, everything.
Of the group. Yeah, she's a female entrepreneur, has started a really amazing company several years ago, but I'm going to let you give your story. Let's hear about your background.
Oh.
Where'd you come from?
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So,
Dark and stormy night, all the stuff.
Right. I was born in Siloam Springs, attended the U of A, and was a journalism major, actually.
Really?
Oh, so what did you want to do with that?
I wanted to be a magazine writer.
Okay. What was your favorite magazine?
17.
Right.
Cosmo.
No.
Yeah.
Are you kidding?
17. Oh, yeah.
I, of course, wanted to follow in Helen Gurley Brown's footsteps and,
That's awesome.
work for Cosmopolitan.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Of course.
That's awesome.
So after graduation, I got a job with the university in their conference and meeting department, doing PR, advertising, things like that. Then I was promoted to be a conference coordinator. And so I planned meetings and events, and that's kind of how this career started.
Okay.
And basically, the event group started because I didn't get a promotion. I didn't have anywhere else to go.
Can you feel the animosity?
Yeah.
and
It's just
Right?
the
Not
hurt
over
still?
it.
How many
Not
years
over
ago
it.
was that?
Too many. I mean, it was in the mid-'90s.
Okay.
Wow.
I didn't want to work in a hotel, even though that's a great job. It just I just didn't feel like that was something I wanted to do. And at the time, there weren't really a lot of planners in the area. So I started my own business. A friend just said, "Hey, why don't you start your own business?" And I was like, "Okay."
Sure,
Not
why
really
not?
knowing
That's-
anything
yeah.
about it, but
I think we can both relate to that.
We're like,
too, for
sure,
We
okay.
yeah.
stumbled into it. All right, why
Okay,
not?
that sounds
Yeah.
great.
do
And when
this.
you're just young enough and stupid enough to not realize what you're doing,
Exactly.
it works out sometimes. So, did a lot of things. I was a planner mainly for corporate events, conferences, meetings. I coordinated the Chili Pepper Cross Country Festival for
Yep.
10 years. Just those types of things. And then in 2000, we expanded into the catering, and that pretty much became the primary focus of
Right.
the company at that time. So
So
we
that's
have
What you've
been
been doing
going
ever
since
since.
then. That's
Okay.
right. That's
Have
right.
you always been are you a foodie? Do you consider yourself a foodie?
No, I never did.
Never did.
Honestly, I just fell into it.
Yeah.
I mean, I just saw a need at the time in the area. There just weren't a lot of caterers. So we saw the need because I was hiring catering for events that I was helping with. So I just saw the need, and that's how it started.
So you thought, why not hire myself?
Hire myself. Well, that's true though. You'd rather lose that business to yourself.
Yeah.
You're not going to get. You want to do that business. Why not?
Well, and keep in mind, the
need.
biggest perception about me in the business is that I'm the person that actually cooks and
Sure, fair
produces
enough,
the food,
yeah.
and I'm not.
Have you ever cooked?
No,
Any
not
of
for
it,
the
no?
business. For my family.
You just coordinate it and make sure it happens.
Correct.
Yeah.
So I do everything else. I deal with the clients, the relationships there. I, deal with our staff, anything other than producing the food. is
Going
what I
back
do.
to the word relationships and the word 17 magazine,
Yes.
I did subscribe to 17 magazine when I was in high school
Okay. What? Why?
because I wanted to get into the mind of a teen girl
that doesn't surprise me in the least.
because I thought maybe I can use this to up my game.
Wow.
Did it work? No, it didn't work. But
You
what
got
I
some great
loved.
skin tips.
Did you ever read 17
It
magazine?
was a
course.
great strategy. Yes.
So
Yeah, it was
they
actually
had a section of girl horror stories.
Yeah.
Freaking loved that.
That was pretty
It was
entertaining.
the best.
I was always like, who actually wrote these in? Now I think back and I'm like, those were actually just people who like made up these
Oh, yeah,
stories.
for
Like,
sure.
I look back, I'm like,
Now
that
we know the
wasn't
behind
real.
the scenes.
Right.
you
But
know.
at the time I was
For
like,
sure.
oh, I can't believe that happened to that poor
Yeah.
girl. I hope that never happens to me, which is exactly what they're. And then on the next page, there's an ad for Kotex. And you're like, oh, well, that makes sense. That makes total sense.
Yeah.
So,
Well, before we move on, let's get
Yeah.
into my favorite part of the show, opinions, not opinions.
opinions.
What?
Obsessions.
Obsessions, that's it.
Find your words. It's okay.
O, it starts with an O. What are you obsessed with right now, Amanda?
Okay, mine's kind of embarrassing, but I mean, not really. I never watched Mad Men.
What?
I never watched it. I don't know why. It's going off of Netflix in a month.
Uh-huh.
I'm binging. I'm obsessed. So I'm hardcore.
Are
into
you
it
done
right now.
with it, or what?
No,
how
I'm
far
through.
into
I'm
it?
about halfway probably. And
So, are you a
it's
big
just
fan of Don Draper?
Embarrassingly,
Yeah?
Like he's terrible, but
Like
he's
when you're
wonderful.
watching it, are you doing?
Of course
this?
I am. I'm swooning for sure.
Yeah?
I'm on the Draper train. I
Okay.
guess.
I mean, Don Draper is the ultimate bad boy.
He
that
is.
we
He
all
is.
want, you know.
Well,
Absolutely.
even in the last season, towards the end, where you like, because he kind of.
I know he's dark. I know there's a lot
Yeah.
of dark in there for sure.
And
I can
don't tell
see-
the ending. But I will say that I wasn't disappointed with the ending. Of
No,
the show.
I wasn't either. It made sense.
Many people were.
I
Yeah.
somehow have managed to kind of like stay away from the spoilers for all these years, and I just don't know why. I just never picked up on it,
Right.
and now I'm like, any
It's
free
good,
second
right?
of the day, I'm like, Mad Men, and I don't, yeah. So I'm like trying to catch up and get all, and I love that era. I love that time. The advertising we were talking about a minute ago. I'm like, oh my gosh, this just like that is just that's. our
Does that make
world.
you want to switch careers and get into the advertising game?
Not in the
Smoke
least.
tons of cigarettes.
A lot of cigarettes.
Not when you're a woman. For
Not
sure.
as a woman, no.
Well, that one woman.
She's pretty cool. She's getting it.
Yeah, if
but
you haven't watched Mad Men, you got to watch Mad
Yeah,
Men.
but you've got a month. It's all well. By the time this airs, less than a month.
Yeah.
It's off June 10th. It's off of Netflix.
And then where's it
so
going?
I don't know. It's up in the air. They could rebid for it. I don't know. I've been
But
researching.
it should be on AMC.
They'll
all
pick it back
times,
up. I
yeah.
think so. Yeah. So it'll. I mean, I'll be able to catch it on binge
Hurry,
weekends
watch
and stuff.
it.
But I'm gonna finish it. Yeah.
So good. Shellie, what are you obsessed with?
If we're talking about TV shows,
Well,
We don't
you
have
can
to-
be
we don't
obsessed
have
with
to.
anything.
Okay.
But if you want to be, you can.
Just what are you
Well-
obsessed with?
You know, my husband and I, we were really into Longmire, and it's on Netflix too.
I've not watched Long
Never
Mile.
seen
Okay,
that,
you
so.
have to watch it. It's about a sheriff in Wyoming, and there's a Native American piece to it, and a lot of corruption, and it's just really good.
Okay.
Basically, the story of my life.
That's
oh,
right.
Absolutely.
you
Are
know.
you the sheriff or the Native
I'm
American?
the Native American.
Okay.
Lou Diamond Phillips is in it.
Oh,
Okay.
I like
A little bit of a
this.
flashback.
Lots
there.
of stars that you'll see in other shows, like
Okay.
Ozark.
I've heard of it, but I've just never seen it.
Yeah, I've heard of it too, and I just haven't. It just hasn't popped up into my feed enough to make me
Yeah.
turn it on. So
And reading, I mean, I'm reading constantly.
Yeah.
I read at night before bed. So
I hope to learn to read someday. That's
I
a
love
dream
to
of
read.
mine.
I love to read, but I just never make enough time for it. I
Yeah.
just don't, and I hate that about. I mean, when I actually sit down and read, I can read, 5 or 6 books in a couple weeks.
In a
but then
couple years.
In a couple of years, in my lifetime.
No, I used to love to read when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And even into my teens, but I don't know.
Yeah,
Book on tape now.
that works.
Or just
that
listen to a
counts.
podcast.
That count. I do a lot. I listen to a lot of podcasts too, for sure.
So my obsession right now is I'm actually wearing it. It's these Built T-shirts, BYLT. This podcast brought to you by Built T-shirts.
Stop
and
it. We
Built
don't
Apparel.
have sponsors. No one is paying you.
Well, I love these shirts. They're like form-fitting, not really form-fitting, but they're like workout shirts. They don't sweat. They don't wrinkle. And this shirt I have on, I accidentally washed it with some Burt's Bees. Burt's Bees. This podcast brought to you by Burt's Bees. And it left grease stains on it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, oh God, how do you get out of grease stain? How do you get out of grease stain?
I think chalk. Chalk is supposed to be one of the things. You use.
Even after you've washed it and dried it? I didn't know about that.
But anyway.
What about you?
I don't know. After the drying,
It's
I
tough.
might
I don't
have
know that it
given
would
up
work.
hope.
But it's
Dish soap.
Oh, yeah.
Like Dawn.
Dawn, yeah,
Yeah.
Dawn soap.
Catch
So what
the
you do
grease.
is you lay it out, put it on all the stains,
Mm-hmm.
and just let it sit for several hours, and it gets it out. I
Okay.
couldn't believe it. I didn't know that till my sister-in-law told me, and I was so bummed because this is one of my favorite shirts that I have from them, and I have a bunch of them. And so I went and bought the same shirt again on their website, and then she told me the next day.
Aw.
And so
Now
now I
you have
have
two.
2 of these shirts. Thanks, Built Apparel. Check them out online.
One day, someone's gonna actually.
This is gonna
I don't
happen.
know.
But yeah, I really like the shirts. They make tank tops, they make shorts, they make pants. It's kind of a.
Let's talk about, since we're talking about tank tops. How do we feel about the man tank?
I wear tanks a
I
lot.
know you do.
Not only when I work out
public?
or when I DJ
Yeah,
weddings.
in public. Oh,
I mean, it's a thing when I DJ weddings. If it's warm, at least 30 degrees or more, I'm wearing a tank because I want the guests to feel like that guy's
uncomfortable.
fun.
Uncomfortable.
No,
you want them to feel uncomfortable.
a
with
friend
your
of mine
underarm hair.
is a photographer in Michigan, and he sent me a picture one time. He's like, "Dude, check this out." And the DJ was wearing glasses, a tank top, and shorts. And he panned, and everybody else is in tuxedos.
Oh my gosh.
He's like, "I don't know who this guy is, but he's probably gonna be really fun." No, I don't. I only wear tank tops when I work out or I'm going to swim or something like that. I'm not just wearing tank tops to show off my muscles.
I just feel like
That's fine.
I feel like the accessories you have under your arms are just a little too much for a tank top.
Underarm hair?
Yes.
Don't have that.
Okay, well, fair
So
enough. There you go.
I'm not. I keep mine trim,
Okay.
or I don't shave it, but it's really trim because I don't like underarm hair.
All right, fair enough.
Yeah,
Fair
I
enough.
learned that
not-
from my friend Miles Whitboyer. Check out Miles Whitboyer Photography online.
Stop it.
And if it's not poking through.
And I don't have
Yeah,
chest hair
that's
either. I don't do
pretty
chest
Okay,
hair.
okay, then
you're
I don't
good.
do body hair.
You're good.
So fun facts with
Let's leave it at the
Brock and
belt.
Amanda.
Let's leave it at the belt.
So let's get into the nitty gritty of catering. First off, I have a kickoff question. Taste testing. Food tasting. How does it, like, we're gonna book you for a wedding, or we would like to find out what your food tastes like. How does that work? Where do we go from the beginning?
Well, first of all, he's very upset that you didn't bring him samples today. He's
I
trying.
thought
He's
we- I
trying
thought
to
this was
work
a food
around
tasting,
that.
actually.
He's trying to
Oh
work
my
his way around that.
gosh. I didn't even think
good.
about
Oh,
it.
this is really good. Oh,
He didn't really want to talk to you. He really just wanted you to bring
Amanda
some.
said, "Hey, I got Shellie. She's going to be bringing some food."
It was a
I
tasting,
said, "All right, this would be
and I
great."
didn't know it.
Yeah.
So
sorry.
what's the initial, like, we're a couple. How does this start when we're booking our catering?
So the thing that normally happens is a bride, a groom calls and they say, "We want to know how much it would cost to cater our wedding, and can we schedule a tasting?" And you're like, well, let's jump back a little
Right.
bit first. Let's get some details, find out a little bit more about what you're expecting. My biggest thing is I don't do a tasting without first doing a written proposal of a menu. And because a couple of things, they may not can afford something until they know what the price is.
Right.
So I don't want to have them taste something that they potentially can't afford
And love it.
and love
Yeah.
it and then be really disappointed. And it wastes their time and ours. So I do the written proposal first. We go over the menu, and then we taste the things that they might be most unsure about. When people want to taste like a garden salad or rolls, I mean, that's just kind of
They're just looking for a
basic.
free meal.
why,
They're looking for a free meal.
Yeah. So just taste the things that you're not sure about. Now, we can certainly do the whole meal if they want that experience. The tasting at that point would have a charge. So we do our tastings complimentary, provided they're just trying 2 or 3 things that they're just trying to decide between. So that's
No,
how
I
we
like
handle it.
what you said to begin this is, let's jump back. When you do get a lot of emails or calls, and the first question is, how much do you cost?
What do you cost?
Well, there's a bunch of information that I need, as a wedding DJ, that you need as a planner, that you can't just put a number on. It's like, well,
Yeah.
are you doing this? Are you doing this? Are you doing this? So if you're listening to this and you're getting married, take that into consideration. Don't just jump out and say, what are your charges?
What are your rates?
Yeah, some of those emails I get, we're getting married on this date. How much do you cost? Well, here's a list of questions I need answered
Yeah.
before
Right. And
we
you
go
hate,
into that.
You hate to be like an order taker.
Right.
I mean,
Sure.
you're trying, at least I'm trying with the food, and I'm sure you are with the music, because you want to know what they're all about, a little bit more about them, so that you can talk intelligently about
Right.
what you might suggest in the way of music. Same with food. So we have, a set menu to send to people. For one thing, to kind of make sure they know what things cost and they can see what a budget could look like. And there are some people that have never planned an event before and they just don't know what things cost.
No.
They've never hosted a party. They have no idea. So that kind of, I don't want to say weeds some people out, but the person that has a very unrealistic budget, and I have seen budgets at $3 a person.
Oh, wow.
So for those people, it either
You just send them a picture of the dollar menu at both Taco Bell if you want Mexican
Right.
or McDonald's.
it either weeds those people out or it makes them realize, okay, we need to up our budgets quite a bit.
Well, I think food is a big thing. You don't realize how much it costs per person going in, especially if you've never planned an event. I know at my wedding, I had no idea.
Right.
And like, no, this would be about $15 to $20 per person. I'm like, what?
What?
Huh?
For what?
I don't even like these people that much. What
And
about hors
multiply
d'oeuvres?
That, well, and then multiply that out by 250
Yeah.
people. Or sometimes they're like, well, my food budget is $3,000 and I've got 500 people invited. And I'm like, dollar menu. Like, I don't know. There's really not a way to make that work in a way that you're going to be happy.
You just don't realize food
It just
costs
adds
so
up.
much
Well,
more.
and then labor. It's not just like slapping this, hunk of beef on the table. Like there's a whole lot of
Correct.
preparation that goes into that, and you spend a lot of time.
We do.
prepping.
And so that's why we're trying to find out a little bit more and develop a relationship with them so we can find out if we do want to customize a menu that's something they just really have to have or love, we can do that. So instead of being an order taker and just like, okay, when's your wedding, and going down that whole list, we really try to develop a relationship and hopefully be friends, with our brides and grooms. And I've noticed lately, though, the last couple of years, I feel like we've received a lot more calls from the grooms. It's almost like they've said, okay, we've got to assign this guy something to do.
Give him a
So
job.
let him call the caterer. And he, unfortunately, doesn't always know. They're the ones typically saying, are you available this day and how much is it going to cost? And
I've been
we wanna
given
do
this
a
job.
tasting.
I don't
I've
know
given
what
this
to do.
job. I'm
Right.
wasting out.
And so we try to help them out, send out some information. We know they're going to have to go back and talk to the real boss. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Whether it be the bride or her parents or someone. So we do that. But it's really just about the tastings. They're just part of it. And we don't mind doing them just as long as it's in a
Right.
controlled way.
Yeah.
Agreed. Well, they can be a free for all. They definitely can be a free for all, and things kind of get out of hand sometimes when discussing all the different options. Because I have had clients before, none that we related to necessarily, but I've had one. I mean, their menu was all over the place, and it took the caterer coming back in and going, okay, we can do this, but you're getting up into the hundreds of dollars per head based on all these different options that you're wanting. Is that really what you want to do? And they were kind of like, oh, no, not so much. And it was a great menu, but it was like, you don't have to feed your people an around the world menu. Like, it doesn't have to literally be something from every place you've ever traveled to. Like, let's hone it back in.
Have you ever done that, though? And
No.
have you ever done
It's
that?
super fun.
Yes,
Yeah.
for a corporate event.
I did it for a wedding.
Yeah.
So over here was a whole Italian, so like anything Italian you can think of.
Yeah.
Over here was a Mexican bar.
Yeah.
And they had like 3 or 4 different
I've done that.
things
Yeah.
at a wedding
Actually, I
of
think we did that
over
together.
500 people.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was insane.
Yeah.
And it was so good.
Yeah. I've not done one that big,
It was-
but I have
yeah.
done different stations with like, this is kind of the Italian-ish.
Yeah.
This is the tacos. And it goes over very well. People
I
like
don't know
variety.
how much they spent on that.
Oh, I can
and it
only
was
imagine.
also, I mean, this was in Cape Girardeau, Missouri.
Yeah.
And it was in the arena for the college basketball team.
Oh, wow.
Is where it was. That's how many people they had. And it's the
Gosh.
only place that they could fit them all.
Okay.
It was nuts, but yeah, it was great eating. And it was
Good
right
eating.
in front of me, so.
You don't eat anything though.
Wonderful.
I know. They had
You
a
don't
couple
eat it.
things. They had a hummus and That's
He's
about all I
vegan,
have.
so it's like
I
impossible.
know.
Yeah.
Hey, I have him at events. I try
Yeah.
to feed him.
It's
when I
hard to.
can.
He's hard to feed.
So how many events do you typically do, every year? All together, and then break it out from like weddings and, corporate events?
And you don't have to count 2020 in that
No.
if you don't want to.
Just in general,
Right.
like,
You can exclude 2020 from the
Oh,
count.
for sure.
Ugh. Ugh.
That's so hard. I would say we do around, on average, 300 to 400 events a year.
yeah.
Probably 60% of those are corporate related, and the other percentage.
And what do you
40%
like better,
weddings.
corporate or weddings? Because they're pretty different.
They're different. I would say we spend less time on corporate events.
Uh-huh.
It's usually I'm talking to the client. It's someone that's a repeat client most of
Right.
the time. I know what they want. A lot of times they let me pick, the food. We have a theme. I just have a lot more freedom to just go with it. Weddings, we spend a lot more time, especially if there isn't a planner. We're put into that role a lot of times as far as the layout and the timeline and a lot of the details that we just have to know in order to do our job, but that really isn't our job to do, but we have to
Right.
do it.
No,
So I would say I love what I do, so it's hard for me to really pick one, but as far as easiest, it would be corporate.
Okay.
For
yeah.
sure.
I would say the same.
I mean, I
even
would too. I think any of us.
in our
It's
world.
not emotional. They're able to say, "All right, got a party. I've got this. I need this. I need this." It's a lot easier to
Yeah.
just kind of dictate the things that they're requesting, and that's it. It's not emotional for the most part.
Right. And usually we have less people involved. And so when it's just up to me, I can really make it something
Yeah.
awesome. And
Yeah.
if we're dealing with a lot more people that you're trying to please, it tends to
Yeah.
be more like, focused in a bit. So
Absolutely. Let me ask this. This is something that I have experienced, and I'm curious to know your take on this. But if someone were to say, well, we really like this, but we also really like this restaurant that, they offer catering, that our friends offer catering at this restaurant. What would you say to someone who's considering hiring a restaurant as their caterer? No
Okay.
shade to any restaurants. Let me
No.
make that very
Okay.
clear.
Some restaurants
It's
are
a-
good at that. yeah.
Right.
Yes, and I'm going to let
So
you
I
answer
have
why,
to
though.
start out because I have tons of friends in the restaurant business.
Absolutely.
We have lots of restaurant favorites that we go to.
Yes.
I love our restaurant friends. And a few of them do a great job that do profess to do full service catering.
Uh-huh.
Agreed.
But there is a huge difference between restaurant catering and full service event catering by and large.
Okay.
I mean, the fact that we take and put so much time into it at a restaurant, you're trained in one location, pretty much the same menu, the same staff. Catering, we're going to tons of locations all over the area. We have to be experts about each location and know what works great at this location, what doesn't work so great at this location. We have to know what they include. Is there an ice machine? Do they have, how do we unload here? All of the things that
Do they have running water?
for sure. Yeah.
That's a big deal.
It's a very big deal.
Right. We have to know and be so flexible. We have to perhaps turn the room over, flip it, unexpected surprises. I just think that restaurants aren't as equipped to handle that as a full service caterer.
Right. And you
I
can adapt to
know-
those changes too.
We can adapt so quickly.
Uh-huh.
No wedding or event goes off without some sort of change. We can plan and have it just as planned as we want it to be and just think it's just perfectly planned and there will be some sort of something
Always.
that happens. And,
Every single time.
Yep.
it's fine, but we can roll with that. Restaurants, maybe not so much. We also make sure we have plenty of staff. There's a big difference between catering and delivery,
Absolutely, there is.
or delivery with one person when you have 300 people to feed,
Oh, right.
or just the equipment we use. All of this goes into an experience that is way above the food. It's about so many other things.
So how do you handle a situation where more people show up and they didn't order enough food?
I really haven't had that happen too often.
Yeah.
I think people are. I'm pretty pretty, what's the word? I pretty much discuss all of this in our meetings with the
You're very
clients
transparent.
and
You're very honest and open with your clients.
I am. I try to be. I try to tell them if something will work or not. If I think it won't work, if I think it will make them look bad, I will let them know. It's their decision then if they choose to follow my advice.
Right.
You know, they may have been planning this one event, but we've planned thousands of events. So, and then later when they choose to do what they wanted to do and it happens the way I said it would, I mean, I hate when that happens.
But it's not on you because you warned them.
But it does happen.
I try to tell you.
Right.
I've had an experience once with a caterer, not your company, obviously, because you know the story I was going to tell. But I've had one, the buffet was too short. They spent a large amount of money on the food for this event. Mother of the bride doesn't have a plate. I go to, my team goes to prepare her a plate, and there's literally nothing left for her.
My gosh.
Nothing left for her. And I mean, I'm like scraping together the last few kind of dried potatoes that I could, here's 2 half pieces of salmon I tried to kind of squish together for her. And I took it to the caterer and I was like, what am I supposed to feed the person who's paying the bill? And she just kind of looked at me like, I don't know. Yeah. So to me, I'm not like I'm not really a 3 strikes you're out kind of person. I'm certainly not a 1 strike you're out kind of person. But for me, that kind of did it. For there to not be a little bit of a backup, a little bit of especially knowing what they had spent on this, for them to have run out, it didn't make sense. It didn't add up to me at all.
So let's role play this with Shellie.
Okay.
Pretend like you are doing this with her.
my
Let's see her
gosh,
reaction.
That wouldn't have happened though, because
That
it
wouldn't
would
have
not.
happened.
She
But
would have.
let me tell you what might have happened in that case. And
Yes.
what can happen is the guests go through the line. We're waiting on the pictures to finish. And so sometimes they go ahead and let the guests go ahead and eat. Did that happen in this case?
Probably.
Okay.
I'm sure it did. Yeah.
So that means the wedding party, the parents, they're not there right now.
Of course.
So the guests have gone through the line. If it's taking a long time and you're now having people come back for seconds,
Oh.
that's
Absolutely.
where that can happen.
That did not happen.
What
I
we
will
do
clarify that. That
is
did not
Didn't
happen.
happen?
okay.
That did not happen.
You go to
but-
Uncle Gary's plate and you say, give me that salmon. You already had some.
That's for
Right.
Martha. Right. Back off.
So what we do is we're watching and we're making sure that everybody's been through. Now,
Of course.
we will not replenish the very last of everything until we know the wedding party has
Yeah.
arrived.
That's
when
great.
when
Yeah.
we hear you announce them,
Yeah.
then it's like we
little bit
refresh the
more,
buffet.
Uh-huh.
We get it all out there where it looks nice again and not like somebody's just
Yeah.
thrown food all around the table. And we are ready for the people that paid most likely
Right.
and the bridal party.
Well, that's a
that's
good
also-
tip for any
It
other
is.
caterer out there that isn't doing it that way.
That's actually really smart. I do like that.
Right.
I think that relates to very carefully planning how the event goes, too, how the event is structured, in that, everyone comes in, they eat, they're seated, and knowing when those certain people that need to be fed, i.e. mother of the bride, father of the bride, potentially bride and groom. Most of the time, I think you and I both try to feed them separately because we know that they're not going to. So by the time they move into the event, the party starts. Then everybody's eaten, everybody's kind of finished up, and then we move on to letting our friend Brock take over. But it was painful to watch. I know that would never ever happen. So I wasn't trying to throw you on the spot there.
Oh,
but
no.
It hurt my heart to then walk out to the mom and be like, "Here you go. That's the best I could do."
What was her reaction?
She was surprised, and I think she was disappointed.
And you're like, I'm disappointed too. Can't
Also,
you see it in my face?
and just know, and it never came up again. So maybe she'd had enough cocktails and she didn't really care. I don't really know. She wasn't overly concerned about it, but it really bothered me, just knowing that this woman had written a very hefty check for a considerably smaller group. I mean, it wasn't a huge amount of guests, and to have run out of food just didn't feel right. Something. I don't know that they skimped, but I don't feel like that they over prepared enough. Because then with the buffet, I know you're right. They could go through a second time,
Or just take too much the first time.
My husband is one of the worst. I mean, if a serving is a couple of meatballs, he's taking 6. I mean, he
He
definitely
needs that protein.
He's definitely one of those guys, but he's definitely one of those people that gets its plate full.
Yeah.
And that balances out. But anyway, I don't know. I just think it's very. I don't know. It was painful to watch, though. It really was, and it hurt to walk up to her and be like, "Here's Best I could do. Sorry.
So speaking of a buffet, there's different types of ways you can feed people at a wedding. The buffet, individually. What do you like the most, and what do you see the most at weddings?
Well, certainly we see buffets the most. At
Just because
weddings.
that's the easiest, or
It's probably the easiest. It's the least expensive.
okay,
When you go into a plated meal, which is the next option, that can cost more because of the labor. But it's certainly a more formal serving style. And then the stations that you brought up earlier that can have different types of food, those are very popular right now. And we've been doing a lot of those. And then the
Family style.
family style,
Yeah.
yes, thank you.
It's okay.
Family
I knew
style,
where you were going.
which isn't my favorite at all. So of that's my least favorite.
It's been super trendy the last couple of years. I've had a lot of people request it. Don't think that's going to happen again for a while. I think that's probably off the
family
table.
style, right?
Yeah, I think it's off the table for the foreseeable future.
What about buffets? How is that going to work?
Right. So we can still do buffets, but our staff has to personally serve each item to the guests. So we'll be on the back side of the buffet. And
So nobody will be the guests won't be reaching over.
they
anymore.
won't be touching any
I
of the
like that
tongs or
anyway.
I prefer it
spoons.
anyway too. I really do.
That
I
way
think that-
you won't run into that situation where Uncle Eddie is getting way too much of the green stuff or the red stuff.
That was the blue stuff.
The
The
only
blue stuff, that's right.
I think it's the blue stuff.
the only thing that you might have to consider as a planner when you're looking at this is to make sure that you realize it's going to be slower now. So you might want to account if there's space for more lines,
Right.
more staff.
Yeah.
And it will cost a little bit more now because an event that I have coming up next week that would have required 2 staff, now I need 4 staff.
Sure.
Okay.
So it's a little bit more because of that. But I think it definitely outweighs the risk. So
Right.
Everything's more labor intensive right now, though.
For sure.
And that's I think people are starting to understand that. But it's just everything we're doing is taking a little bit more effort, a little bit more work, a little bit more pen to paper, just trying to figure out how to make it happen. I mean, we've had multiple conversations already about one particular event, and so thinking through how can we make this happen as close to what their initial wish was, and still maintain the safety level that we all have to right now.
Yeah.
So.
And
Go
you
ahead.
won't even be able to have a beverage station right now.
Oh, really?
We'll have a station, but there'll be a staff member assigned to the station.
Wow.
So they will fill your tea or whatever the beverage is and hand it to you.
You know what they should do?
Get ready. Get ready
Uh-oh.
for this. What is it?
No. I had 2 things, actually.
Was this really an idea?
When serving food, you could be like Lambert's, the home of the throwed rolls. Just hawk the
There you
rolls
go.
to people.
Fair enough. Yeah.
That was my first thing.
Okay.
The second one is you just hand out, and this could be your takeaway gift from the wedding,
Okay.
helmets, and you could put the beverage in each side
Oh,
of
like
the
beer
helmet.
helmets.
Yeah.
With the-
Oh.
It says the
actually a
couple's
great
name,
idea.
now, Brock and Amanda, in their wedding date, and then you just have the people go by, you need a refill, and refill their
That's
helmet.
the second time he's referenced us getting
But you
married
know
in this
what?
conversation.
Well, you're here.
Convenient.
You would have to have a chin strap, because if you're out on the dance floor
Right.
with the helmet,
But
you don't
that
want it to
might
fall off.
interfere with the mask.
I know. How
my
do we
gosh.
work the helmet, the
Well,
mask?
maybe it's a whole contraption, like a mask helmet.
Invent
I don't know.
that.
I'm just throwing out ideas here.
He's looking for a new sponsor. He's looking for a new sponsor.
Today, I do IQ brought to you by
Stop.
the helmet, mask,
Face thing,
drink,
shield.
give him a jig.
$1 million idea. $1 million
That's it right
TM. Trademark. What's up next, Amanda?
Oh my gosh, I love it. I want to know if you feel like the event group. I don't know if we even said the name of the company in the last 30 minutes, but
It has been on the screen.
good. Okay, good. Thank you, producer. Thank you
Yes.
for shutting me up. No, I want to know, do you feel like you have a signature dish? Do you feel like you have something that is like you're well known for, or that you execute extremely well? Like, what do you feel like is maybe your specialty?
Wow, we have so many things. We have some things on our menu that have been on the menu for 20 years just because they're so popular, like our bruschetta.
Oh, I love your bruschetta.
I know, it's so
Oh
good.
my
And
gosh.
you can eat
It's so
that.
good.
I can eat it. And I'm in the back and I'm like, they come by like, oh, would you like some bruschetta? I'm
I'll
like,
take 10.
It's so good.
It is so good.
We have a couple of new chefs that have been with us since the fall, and so we have been producing some really great new favorites. We have some. The thing that I'm loving right now is, unfortunately, we had this event that canceled. It was a university event, but we had created this whole Arkansas-themed menu, not Razorback, but Arkansas. So,
Okay.
like
Okay.
things that Arkansas produces with rice, grapes, poultry, you can imagine, all the
Okay.
things in the state.
Love this.
And it was so cool. I really want to see more of that creativity in menus, even with a wedding. I mean, I think it would be fun to have more themes that are just something special for the bride.
Grandma's biscuits. And
Exactly.
whatever. Mhm.
Yeah. So just making it a signature thing for the event. I'm really loving Southern food with
Yeah.
a twist.
What's the twist?
Well, like you have mac and cheese, but it's just a little bit better. You're
Oh.
using Gruyere and you're using, fancy cheese and maybe some truffle oil, and you have
It is a twist.
a lot more upscaleness to it. So
Sure.
that's
I love
what
that.
I love right now.
So, how do you deal with people who may have food allergies, maybe vegan, and they're super cool? How do you deal with that, especially if you don't know beforehand?
Well, we have to know beforehand
Okay.
because if we show up at the event, we don't have anything there other than the food that we brought to
Okay.
create something,
Right.
or we're in a space that doesn't have a kitchen
Yeah.
that we could cook in, even if we wanted to. So, people are pretty good about telling us any of the allergies or special diets. I mean, we have gluten-free, vegan, vegetarian. I don't see hardly anymore.
I know,
it's
that's been
more
really
gluten-free and
interesting.
vegan.
Yeah.
I love the gluten-free people though that are drinking beer all night. That I love.
I know, that doesn't make any sense.
I think there's a big difference, and there is, between celiac and
Totally.
gluten free.
There is.
I don't
Yes.
like gluten. I don't feel great when I have gluten. Okay, that's different than my body can't process it properly.
Right.
I have a genuine allergy to this, so that's very interesting.
So
Those
you
are- those
can
are
have
your-
an intolerance to gluten too, where it just makes you
Right.
feel blah.
right.
But do you want to hear a fun fact? Do you like
Let's hear it.
Moscow mules?
Yes.
They have ginger beer in them.
Yes.
Ginger beer is not. It is gluten free.
Okay.
It's not made
Nice.
with wheat. It's just
Awesome.
yeah.
I will say
I
when
do
we
love the
know
Moscow
it's an
Mule.
actual allergy, we are so careful. Like
Yeah.
if there's someone that has a seafood allergy and there's seafood on the menu, we will change gloves, wash our hands,
wow.
even before all the stuff that's going on now,
Yeah.
and prepare their plate first so that
I love to
there's
know that.
no possibility that anything's contaminated.
I
and
love
make
to
sure
know
they
that.
have it because I don't want anyone to get sick or go into shock or something
No,
horrible at
that'd
a
be,
wedding.
Yeah, that'd be the worst.
That would be
what
terrible.
What food? Going back to what signature dish you have, what do you think you're known for, food wise, at the event group?
Gosh, I think our garlic mashed potatoes. We are
It's been years since I've had those because
Wah,
I've been
wah.
vegan for so long, but I do remember them and they were delicious.
Yes.
Is there a decent substitute for mashed potatoes, like mashed cauliflower? That's not the same.
It is good, but it's not the same.
No, and you have to put like chicken broth in it. And
Yeah,
that kind of
it's not the same.
Yeah.
Not the same. Yeah, your potatoes are pretty
Our chicken
spectacular.
marsala is very
Legit.
popular.
Has that been on the menu for all 20 years? Or
No, it hasn't.
Okay, who came up with that? One of your chefs?
It's obviously it's a known dish that has been around forever. We had a marsala that we had on the menu, and I never liked it that much, so I wouldn't sell it. Yeah. So there's things
we
on
want
the
chicken
menu.
marsala.
Yeah, do you?
I don't think you do.
I really want you to have this instead. Like, if I like it, then I'm selling it.
Sure,
you know?
sure, of
So,
course.
so we changed it up a couple of years ago, and it's just so popular. We have people in for a tasting, and they're trying to decide between two chicken dishes, and they almost always pick that one.
That one,
So.
right. So, Amanda, what did you have at your wedding, food-wise?
I had a giant, like, overflowing buffet. My vision was just like food that just kind of was piling out of every. I mean, and I don't even
Gluttony is
Was
what
it
Yeah,
dinner
gluttony.
or heavy hors d'oeuvres?
It was dinner, but comprised of a lot of heavy hors d'oeuvres as well. So, it was almost very like a Renaissance feast with like the grapes spilling out. It was beautiful. Like the chef that we used it wasn't here.
Did you have scantily clad women walking
Did
around?
not.
Like a Roman Empire? Was Jim Ed wearing a Greek
Toga?
He was wearing a
toga?
toga.
Yeah.
Yes, he
I could
was.
see him doing that.
Yeah, it was beautiful.
Oh my
Yes.
gosh.
No, yeah, I that was kind of my vision, and of course it was a long time ago, many years ago.
And
but-
now things are a lot more streamlined.
Oh, yeah.
A lot more modern, a lot more contemporary with, the things that I'm liking right now that work perfectly with the state that we're in for safety are the small plates. Those have been around for a while, but really hasn't caught on in this area. And that's just a perfectly pre-portioned small, let's say it's a wonderful piece of beef with a mashed potato or something in a very small portion on a small plate, but then you have several small plates to make up your meal.
Just had a great idea.
Oh gosh.
Oh, no.
Get
And
This is
ready.
another thing that you could do where it would have your name and stuff on it.
Okay.
Like a Happy Meal for your guests. It has the food in it, has a small plate in it, and they take it, you just hand it out, they open it up, the whole thing folds down.
Yeah.
And the food's right there. So you're not having
magic.
to serve the food, it's already there.
Already
Happy
it's
Meal
beautiful.
style.
I think
For
it's
sure,
wonderful.
but let's get a little classier with the packaging.
Well, I mean, the packaging would look nice. It wouldn't be, and there wouldn't be a prize in. I mean, you could
No,
put
why wouldn't there be a
in
prize? You should
What'd
get a
you want?
prize.
We could have a prize.
Golden
Yeah.
egg. I don't know.
Or you
should
put
be a
the
prize.
if they're doing.
Do you want a color
bubbles,
page?
You can put,
Yeah, because we all do bubbles for our getaway.
or when you open it up, there's a picture of the bride and groom that you can color.
Yes.
Oh, that's a great idea.
I love that.
Brock.
TM.
So bento boxes, those are
Yeah.
Love that. Mhm.
That's
Yeah.
a cute idea. Each guest gets their own little bento box, takes it, eats it.
Ah,
Yummy.
Is that feasible? Do you think? Is that something that you'd
Absolutely.
be able to make happen?
That
yeah?
could be served to the guest individually, or it could be at a station that the guest comes up and grabs their own. You're going to see a lot of individual items, whether it be a plated meal that's more traditional or just individual plates of small amounts of food, and the guests will get those and come.
Yeah.
You'll either serve them or they'll come to a station to pick them up. So
I do love that. And I actually I had a wedding in Dallas this past summer, where it was at the Modern Art Museum in Fort Worth, actually. And one of the things that's kind of their specialty on the menu is the micro meals, something similar to what you're saying, where they would go to a chef prepared station and they would get a small plate that had, a protein, a starch, and a vegetable.
I like that.
It was wonderful, and the guests really responded well to it. And I think there were two different menu stations, and then like a small salad station. It went over really well. So I've been excited to see that kind of trickling up into our area a little bit too. So I'm glad that you mentioned that, because I think it went over very well.
You know what this would be the perfect time to drop the Willy Wonka gum, like in the movie that has, it's roast beef and mashed potatoes. Oh, it's dessert, it's blueberry pie.
exactly.
Like that would be perfect.
Beautiful.
Right now is
Yeah.
the time. Willy Wonka, calling you out.
Oh my gosh, stop it.
Well,
Quit.
Today's show brought to you by Willy Wonka, and the
no.
chocolate factory.
So for the person that does want stations,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
serving style, this would be a nice
It's a great idea.
compromise. You could still have your stations.
It's just not self-serve.
It's just
which
not
I actually really
self-serve.
prefer. Again, I really like that better than,
Okay, so here's a question then. How big are these stations? And I know a lot of venues in this area, depending on the people, can be smaller, and it's hard to fit in a big buffet with, so many guests in attendance. Because I know, as a DJ, they're like, well, there's really no room for you. Well, where are we gonna set up?
I know.
Like, how are we gonna play music? Well, we want you outside, and then put a
Down around the
ceiling.
corner.
Yeah.
So how does having more than one station work and with a layout of a room?
Well, it is going to depend on the space, but you're going to probably have to dismiss by tables anyway, because people can't just be lining up. You can't have
Right.
100 people lining up somewhere. So that, and you would have a station like a work table in the back with the chef or helper in the middle, almost like a bar, and then
Okay.
the table where the food is placed on it in front for the guests to take.
So how many weddings do both of you attend where they just let a free-for-all of people just go to the buffet?
Most of them, they don't usually
I hate
dismiss
that.
by table.
I don't, well, but I hate dismissing by table. So I tend, my technique, and we've kind of worked this together, but I tend to try to like graciously go to each table. Hi, the buffet is open if you
Yes.
want to head on up there. And it's a trickle and a few more people.
Right.
It doesn't, and eventually, yes, they're all in line, but I really hate the
Well, 'cause
all
then
call.
you just have-
all right, table 10,
Yeah.
you're up.
Well,
I
yeah,
hate that.
I like
hate it.
going table by table because I don't like calling out the
No,
tables because then you get the
no.
table like, huh? When are you
We
going to
didn't
call
have
us?
yeah.
So
yeah.
going by and letting them
And table
them out.
27 is inevitably pissed every time because they're the last table to go.
Right.
I
They are
mix it up,
mad.
but
Well, this is what I do. I find a group of guys
True.
because they're always going to be hungry.
right.
They got to start. You're
And
right.
so I go up to that group of guys and I'm like, hey guys, I need your help. Could you go ahead and start the line, the buffet? The bride and groom would like us to get started. And
just need someone to go
I
first.
just need someone to start us out. And they're like, sure,
Heck
we'll
yeah.
help you. And once people see someone go through,
Yeah.
then they all
run.
follow.
But with physical distancing now,
Right.
Right.
how's that going to work?
I think it's going to have to. I'm afraid we're
The
going to have
line's
to.
going to go down the
No,
street.
you can't do it. It
All
will
6
have to
feet
be-
apart.
Yeah.
You're going to be saying table 10.
Yeah, we're going to have to
You
call
may
out
not
table 10,
get
you're up.
Which is fine. I'd rather that than the line snaking around all the tables for people
No.
waiting
Agreed.
on food. I'm always like, everyone, there's plenty of food.
You don't have to stand in line.
You're good. Everybody's going to eat.
Yeah.
Chill out.
Yeah.
Right.
So-
That
you,
stresses
you
me out.
won't
too.
be able to do that anymore. So
Which is a blessing.
that's
I'm
fine.
okay with that for sure.
Yay.
Thanks, big guy.
I love it. Well, are there any other serving styles, maybe kind of relative to what we're all dealing with right now, that you've seen that you think maybe? I think we maybe have touched on this, and if we chop it out, if not, but are there some serving styles that you've seen that you think are going to be really popular, that you think maybe are something new?
I really don't. I'm listening to tons of webinars every day from caterers, huge catering companies around the world. And really the consensus is plated meals, or what I've described to you, individual meals in some cute container, everything having its own vessel of some sort. That's just the way it's going right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's nothing else that's really an option at
Yeah.
this point.
No.
So, the event group, what separates you from other caterers and whatnot?
I think it's our attention to detail.
Okay.
So I am just super organized. I don't know why I was born that way, but I am. So I just really make sure that anything that can not be a chance is decided upon. So
Yeah.
especially if there's not a planner, I know it's left to the caterer, the DJ, the photographer, sometimes the venue to handle more duties than we normally would, caterer being most of that. So I just really make sure I ask every question that I can. I help with timelines, layouts, just things that help the event be better. That's the difference between us.
Oh, and I know every event that I go to where you're at, I'm like, yay, don't have to worry about that. This is going to be perfect. It's like having a wedding planner there if Amanda can't be there or anybody else.
And we love when there's a planner, believe
Yeah.
me.
Well,
It's
but on
just-
our side too, we love having professional other vendors. Like we love having people who this is what they do. They know what they're doing. They know the scary questions to ask.
Right.
And, so we all like working together
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you can definitely tell the professionals from the people who are new to the industry
Yeah.
or just don't care.
Just don't care.
Yeah.
That's the
Exactly.
sad one.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes I care so much, I just really want it to be the best it can be. And so I may at times go overboard asking things and the people are like, why is she asking
Why
that?
does
It
she
has nothing
care?
to do with the food. But really it does because I want a whole picture of everything because I'm there. If the cake's not there and it's almost time to start, I'm going to be finding someone to find out about that cake.
Right.
Right.
I'm not just going to let it go. So, I think that's the difference between us.
And
We
when it's
really
your
want it to be
business, it
right.
reflects off of you.
It does.
So.
Absolutely.
It does.
Absolutely.
It does.
All right, let's get into my favorite part. This is our wedding opinions. So, Amanda, I'll let you ask the first question.
All right. I want to know, drinking or no drinking at a wedding, alcohol or non?
Well,
And it can be a gray area. You can be a gray area too.
I
That's
think
okay.
to have a party, there should be alcohol. I think the mixed drinks are when things can get out of hand. My biggest issue is when people drink all day. And so the wedding started, the reception's been going on an hour, and it's no fault of the bartender, whether it be our bartender or a hired company.
Yeah.
Everybody's drunk and it's 8 o'clock and we have to go till midnight. And I'm like, there's no way that everyone's drunk already when we just opened the bar an hour ago.
Right.
So when you drink all day, that is just a huge issue.
It's a recipe for disaster. I mean, it really is.
I've been called some nasty names when I've had
What
to
are some of
cut
those
people off.
names? Let's go through. Yeah, it's no good. And even, the wedding party, the bride and groom. As a groom, I never wanted to be wasted at my own wedding.
No.
You don't remember it, and your wedding night is you passing out next to the bride and waking up the next morning and asking, did we really get married yesterday?
What
I
happened?
know.
What the heck? I don't remember any of it.
Yeah.
And you don't look as attractive when you're
No.
drunk.
True. Or you might think you do.
You think you do.
Like,
you
oh my gosh,
don't.
it's so hot right now.
So I.
You've paid a lot for these photos.
Yeah.
And you
Yeah.
wrecked them
It's
all.
just a
Get
bad
in
look.
it. So yes, drinking, just be
Don't be stupid.
smart.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
Yeah. Everything in moderation. I mean, that's
Exactly.
magic words right there.
So how do you feel about letting the guests eat before the wedding party? Love it or not?
I'm fine with it as long as there's not going to be too much time. I think what I don't like is when the guests are by themselves at a reception for over an hour.
Yeah.
I just
Yeah.
think that's too long.
Agreed.
And they're bored. Maybe they're drinking more or eating more because they're bored. There's nothing else to do. The party hasn't started with
Right.
you. It's just a long time to leave your guests.
It
And I
is.
just think over an hour is not good.
Well, that's when the guests start coming up to me and like, when are we going to get
gonna
this thing
happen?
started? I'm waiting on the couple. That's
You can feel the tension in the
Yeah.
room, though,
You
the
can't.
discomfort in the room.
Sometimes we have to stand at the buffet
And, like,
and guard it because
Yeah.
they don't want us to let the
Get
guests
out of here.
eat yet.
Yeah.
And so we'll have to do that. Or people will literally ask if they can have cake before
Yeah.
it's even cut. No,
well, they're
you can't have
starving.
cake.
I like at weddings, people that go to weddings, it's like they've never eaten in their life.
It's true.
And they are so hungry. They're starving. They haven't eaten in months. They're like, oh my God, I got to eat. Oh, so hungry. Oh, when are we going to eat? It's like the end of the
You're
world.
going to be okay.
For sure.
This will end.
But
so
yes,
true, though.
if you want to let them go ahead and eat, we're fine with that. And again, we're watching to make sure. But still, do not leave your guest over an hour
Yeah.
unattended.
Guess would be a lot of that would be weddings that don't have planners, people that aren't aware. I mean, I'm sure it happens, and I know I've been in situations before. I'm like, I'm trying to get them in here, y'all. I'm trying so hard. They're not. They're still doing fiction, photos or whatever. But my guess is a lot of times that's maybe an unknowing mistake.
It can be. It can be that. It can be that the people are just not timely people and
Right.
they
That's
just can't
yes.
get around and get to the next thing.
Well, you do see it a lot with new photographers, though, too.
Or
that
the
just
photographer.
don't know.
Yeah.
Sure.
Oh my gosh, we've been taking pictures for over an hour while
Yeah.
their guests are waiting. We didn't know their guests couldn't eat, all that
Right.
kind of stuff.
Right.
Yeah. It could be a lot of factors.
Sure.
For sure.
Yeah. Garden bouquet. Let's touch on the traditional. Yay or nay to the garden bouquet toss?
Because you listen to this podcast, you know
Yeah.
how we feel
Yeah.
about the garter and the bouquet.
You still like it, right?
I like the bouquet.
And
Yeah,
you
gar-
don't
I'm-
like them
I'm
at
over
all.
the garter.
both
Right.
of them.
I don't have a strong opinion on the bouquet. I think it's still a sweet gesture because of the history behind it. But the garter, I could.
I think we could do without them both.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's something we say, okay, this is what you have to do.
No.
I think it's something, do you want to do this? And
Yeah, we let them pick, but when they do pick, you kind of make a face like, oh.
Okay, fine.
Oh,
You make your
really?
opinion well known.
Oh, I can't believe it.
I mean, it just seems awkward a lot of times.
Yeah.
Yes, it's painful.
But
And I think a lot of couples just do it because their friends did it or they
Yeah.
think they're supposed to do it. Like, if
think
you
you're
don't do it, nobody's going to notice
Nobody's gonna cry about it.
or care.
That's right.
Maybe your mom or your grandma. And then you just say, hey, we don't do this anymore. And,
I
and
had
they're
this
over it.
thing when I got married, and I didn't want people to stand.
When you walk down the aisle?
Oh,
Yes, I
really?
just didn't. I don't know why.
Huh.
So I didn't have people stand.
Wow.
How did you keep them from? That's interesting. Because I still, even if the mother of the bride doesn't stand, sometimes I still have people that jump up because they feel like they have to.
I think I had a little note, a discreetly worded note in the program.
Very nice.
I did.
If you stand, you will be slapped by the bride after the wedding.
That's what it said. Or you'll be kicked out.
I like that. Okay. All right.
Well, this has been fun.
So fun. You're fun to talk to. We all know that,
you.
but you're fun to talk to.
Yes. And, this is the first episode back into kind of the real world that we didn't have to be on Zoom.
Yes.
I'm pretty pumped about that.
Yeah, we probably should still be on Zoom. I'm a little bit nervous about your cough.
And this is an optical illusion. Amanda's actually 6 feet away from me.
Yes.
This is all.
Yes.
We're very far apart.
But thank you so much for joining
Thanks,
us.
guys.
If we want to
Thank
find
you.
you and get a hold of you for any of our catering needs, where do we need to go?
So you can go to eventgroupcatering.com. It has our phone number, our email, anything you need. I'm always there to answer. So,
Okay.
hope to see you
Shellie,
soon.
everybody. Amanda, I'll ask you the last words. Anything from you?
Yeah, I should have eaten lunch before I did this. I'm hungry now.
And I should have brought food.
Yes, that's why we invited you in the first place.
Gosh, I failed.
Samples
Oh my
are
God.
required.
Thanks everybody for
Failed.
joining us. This is the I Do IQ podcast. See you next time. Thanks so much for listening, and make sure to subscribe and expect a new exciting episode each and every week. Please follow us on social as well at I Do IQ Podcast. If you have a guest recommendation or a topic you would like to hear discussed on the podcast, please let us know. The I Do IQ Podcast is recorded at the most amazing studio in Northwest Arkansas and by the most amazing and best looking people in all the world, Go Rogue X. You can follow them on social as well at Go Rogue X, or visit them online at GoRogueX.com. They truly are amazing, and if you're looking to start a podcast, they are your go-to people. Also, a big shout out to our creative people, David Kinney from Forward, all the way from the great state of Michigan. You can check his website out, theforwardcreative.com, for all your logo and design needs. And for more information on Brock and Amanda, please visit djbrockentertainment.com and amandareedweddings.com. Thank you again, and we'll see you on the next episode.